Do I need to be extroverted to record voiceovers? That's the question I will tackle today on this week's DeWeese Directive. Welcome once again to another DeWeese Directive. I am Bill DeWeese from VoiceOverRevolution.com. And by the way, if you've just found this channel, thanks for checking it out. Thanks for watching the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribed and share it with your friends. It's a channel that just has a lot of information. When I say a lot, I mean hours and hours and hours of free content. I've got, I believe now, well over 2,000 videos, and we're approaching 9,000 subscribers and over 600,000 views. So I'm excited to be the most viewed voiceover-related channel on YouTube, and hope you enjoy these resources. And every week on Wednesday, I release a DeWeese Directive. Before I answer the question, though, I want to let you know that I've just begun to release a second video each week that comes out on Monday. And in case you haven't checked it out, it's called my VO Weekly Podcast. And it is a podcast as well as a YouTube video. And you can subscribe to the podcast by going to voweeklypodcast.com. Actually, that's the website, but you can subscribe through iTunes to make sure you have access to it and never miss an episode. And if you want to check it out on YouTube, you can check it out on YouTube. What is it, you may be curious to know? Well, the VO Weekly Podcast is simply an interview. My friend Fred Gleek and I, he's in Las Vegas. I'm here in the Chicago area. We connect via Skype, and we sit down for 15, 20, 30 minutes, however long it takes, and talk about my week. I have a lot of requests for just what happens on a day-to-day basis. So you hear the breakdown of what happens every day of each week that I work. I talk about the types of projects that I work on, how much money I make for the week, so that you can kind of get a sense of what that looks like. Also, I talk about the challenges that I face, the victories, the opportunities. It's just an inside look at what's going on in the day-to-day, the nitty-gritty, the daily grind where the rubber meets the road of voiceover. And so check it out, if you will, at voweeklypodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, and you can check it out here on YouTube. So again, the question I was recently asked is this: do I need to be extroverted or outgoing to record voiceovers? My answer to that is this: I certainly hope not, because if so, I'm in a really bad situation. You may have heard me mention before that in a prior life, I used to be a college professor, and during my time at the university where I taught, I took what is known as the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. It's essentially a personality test or personality profile, and one of the measurements is extroversion, introversion. And I took that test 5 times, and every single time it confirmed that I am indeed an introvert. Introverts, take note, take heart. You do not have to be an extrovert. You do not, whenever you walk into a room with people, you don't have to be the person that fills the room with your presence to be a voiceover talent. Does it help? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know, because I'm not an extrovert. Being an introvert doesn't necessarily mean you're a wallflower. You can be an excellent communicator, and that's really what it requires to be a successful voiceover talent. But an introvert by nature recharges their battery by being alone. So, for instance, at the end of a long day or the end of a long week, which my days and weeks tend to be that way, instead of seeking out other people to hang out with, an extrovert would say, "Where's the party at?" And that's how they would recharge and re-energize. An introvert would say, "Where is a quiet place where I can sit down and be alone?" That's me. If you find yourself in that situation, again, it doesn't mean you cannot be a successful voiceover talent. However, one of the things that can come with that, and this was the second part of the question, is how do you address anxiety? Because when you're an introvert and living an extrovert's life, which I always have been, worked in radio. I was a morning personality, program director, a station manager, a college professor. I'm a musician. My entire life has been spent in front of people because that's what I'm compelled to do. I feel that's where my gifts are at, and that's what I enjoy doing. But at the same time, as an introvert, it tends to make me anxious at times. So I guess what I would like to say is that if you tend to be an introvert, there is a certain amount of anxiety. And I do believe that managing expectations is a large part of the formula of success. So just understand that if you are an introvert, there will be times when you may feel a little bit of anxiety or nerves, as it were, perhaps in an audition or a recording session. But even if you're an introvert, such as myself, what you will find is that the more times that you do it, you'll gain a greater sense of confidence. So for instance, I remember earlier on in my career, anytime that I would do a directed session, meaning I'm in a studio someplace else, or I'm on ISDN or on a phone patch or Skype and a client is directing the session, I remember I used to get highly anxious early on when I would do those sessions. Today, there's an underlying sense of nervousness, but I actually enjoy those sessions. I enjoy the interaction. I enjoy the feedback. I enjoy being able to give a client what they want and receive the feedback at the end of the session that says, hey, that's exactly what we wanted. Thank you. Good job. So what I would say to you is if you are an introvert, first of all, don't let that distract you from achieving your goal of recording voiceovers if that's what you would like to do. Number two, understand and be aware that yes, there will be some anxiety involved with that, but it is that way to a certain degree with everybody when you have not built the confidence that goes with it. As an introvert, even when you're confident and you've done this for a number of years, there can still be a bit of anxiety attached to that, but underneath all of that, you will understand and know that that's just the way your personality is and that you will overcome and that you can do well. So I hope that encourages you. If you tend to be, if you're the person when you go to a party, if you're the person who tends to like to listen more than talk, which that would certainly be me as well, you can still certainly record voiceovers. It doesn't affect your ability to be a strong communicator. So don't confuse extroversion with being a good communicator. Believe me, there are plenty of extroverts who have no communication ability. However, there are plenty of introverts who are excellent communicators and can succeed and do very well as a voice talent. I hope you've enjoyed and benefited, and I hope this has set your mind at ease if you are an introvert. But thanks for checking out the video. Again, make sure that you check out voweeklypodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to this channel, and I look forward to our time together again very, very soon.